Our scriptural reference this afternoon comes from Exodus chapter 3, verses 1 through 10. Exodus chapter 3, verses 1 through 10. And we have a powerful word here for us. Please allow me to read that for you. Now Moses was keeping the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. And he led his flock to the west side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. He looked, and behold, the bush was burning, yet it was not consumed. And Moses said, I will turn aside to see this great sight, why the bush is not burned. When the Lord saw that he turned aside from him, God called him out of the bush, Moses, Moses. And Moses said, Here I am. And he said, Do not come near. Take your sandals off your feet. For the place on which you are standing is holy ground. The place on which you are standing is holy ground. And he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. Then the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt, and have heard their cry because of their taskmasters. I know their sufferings, and I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of the land to a good and broad land, a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. And now, behold, the cry of the people of Israel has come to me, and I have also seen the oppression with which the Egyptians oppressed them. Come, I will send you. Come, I will send you to Pharaoh, that you may bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. Come, I will send you. Come, I will send you. Throughout our lives, we wrestle with God's vision for who we are and who we've been created to be. Some articulate this as our purpose of life, our life journey. If we do what God asks us to do, then the end result will be what? We wrestle with that. Some articulate it this way, that at the end of my life journey, when folks struggle to figure out what epitaph they put on my tombstone, what will it say about me? Who do I want to project myself to be as people begin to distinguish my legacy? What did he or she accomplish according to the will of God during that small amount of time that they were sent here on the earth to manifest that? Essentially, what has God placed in my heart to be passionate about according to his will? We wrestle like Moses, and Moses wrestled as we see in the scripture. We'll look at those points and those places where Moses wrestled, but we wrestle with God's calling on our life. In many ways, we suggest that only really ministers are called, and that's not really true. Everybody is called to do something. Ministry, as we've been wrestling with, is not just standing behind the pulpit. Ministry is not just standing in the choir loft or playing the instrument. Ministry is not just being an usher or being a willing worker or being part of the kitchen crew or being part of the youth ministry. Ministry is all those things that allows one to show forth God's grace and God's mercy in real time, in real life. When you walk down the street and give a kind, gentle hello, good morning, how are you, to somebody who seems to be in solitude and lonely, that's ministry. When you shake somebody's hand and you feel their hand shaking, so you grasp it just a little stronger to let them know it's going to be okay and I got your back, that's ministry. When you see somebody go astray and you just whisper into them, it will be all right. That's ministry. I argue that the most powerful ministry in the world are those very small and minute, intricate nuanced things that we do when we're not even thinking about doing it. When you look over and smile at somebody who looks worried, that's ministry. When you cheer somebody up who really doesn't want to be cheered up. You know how we get. Life hits us and smacks us up and down, and we begin to like how that feels. So we stay in that corner. We stay smacked down and stay beaten up. And somebody comes to cheer you up, and you really don't want to be cheered up. But God says, cheer up, my brother, my sister. Live for the sunshine. That's ministry. And so it's not just preaching, teaching, singing, and being a minstrel or playing music. Ministry is living a life that reveals that God's hand is on you. Being an ambassador of God's grace and God's mercy in and out of sin. We find Moses here. Moses lived a peculiar life because at one point he was entitled. He grew up entitled. But then at another point, he was a nomad, he was a shepherd. So Moses, in effect, had the best of both worlds. And then we find him at this position, at this place where God shows himself to Moses in the form of a burning bush. A bush that is burning is Moses. In my biblically sound and theologically correct mind, I want to say that I would stand there and fall to my knees and begin to worship God, but in my humanness, I think I would run. Image! A burning bush speaking at me? I want to believe that I'm spiritually mature enough to understand God is in my presence, in my space, acknowledging me there, calling to me, but I don't know. Maybe I've watched too much TV, and maybe I've played too many video games, but I think I would be slightly spooked out by that. I don't know. As the pastor, I want to suggest that when God's voice comes with that booming, James Earl, kind of image, I would understand that was God. But in my humanness, in my brokenness, in my sinfulness, so I understood Moses being a little trepidatious. Here I am. And God says, take off your sandals, for where you are standing is holy ground. Moses not only takes off his sandals, but he hides his face, understanding that it is God, the creator of all things, who has chosen him for this specific time, specific place, to do something. And God says to Moses, come. I've heard my people praying to me. I've heard my people crying out to me. They're suffering. They're enduring all this stuff. Come, son, come. I am the God of your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather. Come, son, I've chosen you to lead them out. And Moses, like Emmett, says, why me? Why me? And we see as the passage continues, as you read through chapter 3 and into chapter 4, you'll find that Moses makes up about 3, 4, 5 excuses. God, I'm just a mumbling, stumbling shepherd. God, I'm not the best speaker. I'm not as articulate as somebody else. Why me? God, I may seem to be courageous, and I may seem to be charismatic, but I'm really not, God. I'm not equipped to do what you need to be done. Why me? God says, just me and you talking, can I share with you that I'm afraid that I don't think I can do what you're asking me to do? Can I acknowledge, God, that I'm not who you think I am? Now let's just pause on this scene from the movie and let's analyze this. God, I'm not who you think I am? I mean, how many times have we spoken to God those same Now 5 minutes ago we prayed, oh God, who created the majestic universe out of nothing. God who formed clay and breathed life into it. But now we're saying, God, I'm the wrong one. I'm really not the one who should be going out. Many of us are just like Moses. God gives us a vision for what he wants us to do according to his will, and we tell God, I'm not the one. I'm not ready. It's not me. God, essentially what we're saying is, God, you made a boo-boo. You made a mistake. It's the other enemy. You're looking for number 4, not number 3, God. So I will help you to prepare number 4, because it really ain't number 3. That's what we're saying to God. And we forget that God appointed you and anointed you for this particular time and space. So just like Moses, we need to wrestle with vision.